Um, he's a 5'5", 5'5" midget, and shit. I know what I can do. I got IQ. I've been all around the world. I just seen it all. I just seen.
It doesn't seem Kashawn Davis is letting go of Tank soon, with Tank at the top of their game. Everyone wants a piece of him.
Hey, Shakur, like I was telling Bud, it's either you or Keyshawn's gonna get tanked, so the walls are closing in, so awesome.
It's gonna be him, though.
It makes sense. He's closer.
Big brother first.
From Keane going as far as insulting Tank recently to Lamont Roach already eyeing a second fight with Tank, things keep getting interesting. Let's catch you up. Kashawn Davis is running his mouth again, and this time he's taking direct shots at Tank in a way that's bound to get people talking. At a recent press conference, Kashawn didn't just say he'd beat Tank, he went all in saying he actually doesn't see him as a challenge at all at this point. Kashawn has thrown all sorts of words and insults at Tank's short, dwarf, unskilled liar, and if that wasn't enough, he doubled down claiming Tank's resume's overhyped and that he's fought nobodies.
Chasing after you, I'm not chasing you. Little dude, little dwarf, Oopa Loopa, little light-skinned dude. I'm not chasing you. I'm not chasing you.
For someone with just 12 fights under his belt, Kashawn is swinging big with the trash talk. Tank, of course, wasn't about to let that slide. Kid calling me unskilled and saying all these things about me ducking opponents while it's him who's been ducking Cruz for years. Tank fired back, let him beat Andy Cruz first and then do something with his life, then maybe I'll take his little paycheck hunting self seriously.
Who's the bigger challenge for you right now? Andy Gomez, who we just heard Willie from Boxeo Cubano ask you about, your boy Frank Martin?
Frank Martin, definitely. He's more of a seasoned pro. He'll be a harder fighter.
Kashawn seems to think these insults will get him closer to the fight he wants, but Tank's not biting. To be fair, it's easy to see why Kashawn is turning up the volume. He knows Tank is the golden ticket. One fight with Tank and you're suddenly a household name, not to mention the kind of payday that can change your life. But there's a fine line between confidence and clowning, and Kashawn might just be crossing it. Honestly, Kashawn's obsession with Tank feels less like a genuine challenge and more like a marketing ploy. After his second-round knockout win over Gustavo Limos earlier this month, Kashawn started name-dropping Tank left and right, acting like the fight was already in motion. But here's the thing, Tank doesn't need Kashawn. Whether we like Tank or not, he's an established star, undefeated with 28 knockouts and sitting comfortably as one of the top dogs in boxing. Kashawn, on the other hand, has a lot to prove. Sure, he's got talent, but his record is padded with mid-level competition.
Those are two messages before I get off this damn live. Tell lil bro, turn his punches over, you're pro now, okay? Turn the punches over, those slaps is not gonna get counted pro, okay? Eddie Hearns, no more tweeting. Stop tweeting my name. You trying to keep building this man off my name. This man ain't touched no type of television in America. Stop trying to build your man off my name. You wanna fight me?
And it's not like Kashawn has swept everyone around him. There's the Andy Cruz problem, a problem Kashawn would love everyone to forget. Cruz beat him 4 times in the amateurs, including a brutal loss in the 2020 Olympics. That last defeat left Kashawn unraveling in the ring, looking like he might need a timeout in the locker room just to process what had happened. It was one of those moments fans don't forget, and neither does Tank. He's been avoiding Cruz for a reason. Tank said, if he's too scared to handle his old rival, what makes him think he can handle me? He's out here calling me short, but he's the one who can't measure.
I just say, you know what I'm saying, to go fight the from Cuba. No, nigga, I don't fight. I want to fight Tank. Stop mentioning other people when I mention your fight. The is you talking about, boy? Like, don't play with me, bro. Y'all know how I'm coming. Tank, if you wanna fight, send me a contract, bro.
And that's the whole point of it. Tank sees Kashawn as all talk and no walk. Honestly, Tank has a point. Kashawn has been dodging Cruz like his career depends on it. Cruz has even called Kashawn his son, a jab that stings because it feels true. If Kashawn won't step up to face Cruz, why should anyone believe he's ready for someone like Tank?
American, you still trying to adapt to this, to our environment. You still trying to build yourself. So why the fuck do you say?
My son.
Andy Cruz, I don't gotta fight you.
Kashawn, though, isn't slowing down. When asked about his chances against Tank, he didn't hesitate. I've sparred with Tank before. I know how he thinks. I've felt his power and it's nothing I can't handle. I'll beat him, no question, he said confidently.
Crazy about that is, this time around, it was like, all right, we older now. There's more skills involved. It's like, all right, now let's see how it's gonna go this time. And when I got in the ring, I'm not gonna lie, he surprised me with how much defense he really had. You know, of course I was.
But sparring is just practice. It's not the real deal, and Tank, everyone in the sport knows that. Kashawn's other big claim that Tank's resume is weak is laughable to anyone who knows boxing. Tank's fought killers like Leo Santa Cruz, Mario Barrios, and Ryan Garcia. Compare that to Kashan, who's yet to fight anyone near that level, and the gap becomes clear. Yet Kashan keeps talking, almost as if he's hoping no one will notice the difference.
Davis Keyshawn, this new guy, he's 140 pounds. He's not bad.
Yeah.
Keyshawn Davis.
It's not just Tank who's calling Kashan out, though. Fans and analysts are starting to question whether Kashan is all hype. Top Rank, the company promoting him, seems to be protecting him with careful matchmaking by keeping him away from tough opponents like Cruz. They're trying to build him up as a star without risking a loss, but fans see through that, and the longer he avoids Cruz, the worse it looks.
No, I feel like Tank is the type of fighter where he'll either be offensive first, but he's very, 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 very patient, and then just try to catch you slipping. You know what I'm saying?
The insults aren't helping his case either. Calling Tank short and saying he doesn't have a resume might get headlines, but it doesn't make Kashan look like a serious threat. If anything, it makes him look desperate, and desperation doesn't win fights.
You are good. You are real good. But there's levels to this game, Keyshawn.
Okay, we gonna talk about levels. Okay, just know.
Tank, meanwhile, isn't losing any sleep over Kashan's words. The truth is, Kashan knows a fight with Tank isn't happening anytime soon. He's mandatory for the WBO lightweight title held by Devin Haney, and that's likely his next move. But instead of focusing on that, he's using Tank's name to keep himself in the spotlight. It's a smart strategy if your goal is to stay relevant, but it's not going to earn the fight he wants.
Tank said he's now the new face of boxing. What do you think?
For sure, he's the face of boxing. I don't have no problem with saying that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he deserves everything that's coming to him. He's the face of boxing for sure.
If Kashan really wants to be taken seriously, there's a simple solution: fight Andy Cruz. Beating Cruz would shut up the doubters and show he's ready for the next level. But until that happens, all the insults in the world won't change the fact that Tank isn't taking him seriously. For now, the back and forth continues. Kashan keeps talking, Tank keeps brushing him off, and fans keep debating whether Kashan is the real deal or just another loudmouth looking for a quick payday. One thing's for sure, if these two ever do fight, the build-up alone will be worth the price of admission. But until Kashan proves himself, it's all just noise.
Try to get with it. That I'm trying to ride his coattail. Like, bro, I don't need you. I don't have to fight you. I'm making real. I don't need you, bro. If you want to fight me, send me a contract. But if you don't, I'm going to be just as popular fighting you or not fighting you. I'm going to make my money fighting you or not fighting.
So, however, we can almost say the same about literally any other fighter that is chasing a fight with Tank. Take Lamont Roach, for example. Lamont Roach might be the most confident underdog in boxing right now, but his recent comments are making people question if he's a little too caught up in his own dreams. Roach hasn't even stepped into the ring with Tank yet, and he's already talking about a rematch and even bigger plans for a third fight. If you didn't know better, you'd think he already beat Tank and was riding his victory lap. But reality paints a much different picture, and boxing fans aren't letting him forget.
Think about you been knowing me though. I don't know. I'm just getting to know you, sir.
I don't know shit about
you. They been knowing me. I'm just getting to know you, sir.
Well,
you know, I've been staying no business.
I ain't know who you were.
The fight between Roach and Tank has already been postponed from its original December 14th date and is now penciled in for March 1st. Word is the promoters are worried the fight won't sell as expected, which raises an eyebrow about why it was booked in the first place. Roach, with a record of 2-9-1-1 and just 10 knockouts, isn't exactly someone fans have been clamoring to see. Tank, on the other hand, is undefeated at 3-0-0 with 28 knockouts and known for selling out arenas. The mismatch in popularity and power has most fans calling this fight a foregone conclusion.
Possible reasons for the Tank Roach move: there's zero fan interest in the fight. People don't want to see Tank cherry pick another opponent after having done so for a solid 11 years. Fans want to see a 50-50 fight involving Tank, and they've yet to see him in a pick'em match during his career.
But Roach doesn't see it that way. In fact, he's so confident or delusional, depending on who you ask, that he's telling fans to get ready for a rematch. There's a rematch clause, people Roach said on X. So get ready for 2 fights, and after I beat Tank the second time, I'll ask the WBA to let me go up to 140 and fight Rayo Valenzuela for his light welterweight belt. Let's break this down. Roach is talking about not 1 but 2 victories over Tank Davis, a fighter who has knocked out nearly everyone he's faced, and after those back-to-back wins, Roach plans to move up in weight and chase another belt. It's a bold strategy. But it's got fans scratching their heads. How is Roach already talking about a second payday with Tank when the first fight hasn't even happened? For many, it sounds like he's getting way ahead of himself, fans on social media haven't been kind. Many are laughing at Roach, calling him delusional, and saying he's got no chance of winning the first fight, let alone a rematch. And honestly, the numbers don't lie. Roach has just 10 knockouts in 27 fights, which isn't exactly the kind of power that scares someone like Tank. Plus, he's coming up in weight to face a fighter who's been dominant across 3 divisions. It's hard to see how Roach's skill set matches up against Tank's explosive power and speed. Tank hasn't been shy about how he feels about the matchup either. He's been criticized in the past for what fans call safe matchmaking, and this fight isn't helping his case. Roach is seen by many as a soft opponent, a fighter plucked from the super featherweight division to give Tank an easy night. Roach, of course, isn't buying.
I mean, and they have a problem that Tank Davis isn't the draw that they thought he was because he's not fighting anybody. The only time he drew was when he fought Ryan Garcia. All the other ones were colossal failures. Well,
the whole situation has fans wondering why this fight is happening at all. When it was first announced, the plan was to hold it in Baltimore or Washington, D.C., where Roach is from. The idea was that it would do well regionally, even if the matchup wasn't the most exciting. But then the fight was moved to Houston, Texas, taking away even that justification. Now it's starting to look like the fight was a bad idea from the start. Fans were hoping Tank would face someone like Edwin Dios Santos, Keyshawn Davis, Floyd Schofield, Andy Cruz, or William Zepeda next. Those are the names that would get people excited, not Lamont Roach.
And the thing that I really appreciate about Tank is he's a dog. That kind of that what he just said, you can put the earmuffs up and go at it. Mm-hmm. He kind of will assess you as well, and whatever he needs to do, he'll do it, you know.
Tank's critics are using this as more evidence that his management team is protecting him from tougher opponents. Keyshawn Davis, one of Tank's loudest critics, has already called this fight another cherry pick. And while Keyshawn might be stirring the pot for his own reasons, he's not entirely wrong. Roach isn't on the same level as the names fans want to see Tank fight. If anything, this matchup feels like a filler, a way to keep Tank busy without risking his undefeated record. Still, Roach isn't backing down. He's selling himself as the man who's going to shock the world, and he's sticking to the idea that fans need to be ready for 2 fights. But that's the problem. Roach's focus seems to be on the payday, not the challenge. Talking about a rematch before the first fight even happens feels less like confidence and more like wishful thinking.
Go to work.
So you think he need to turn his phone off, man? Come off social as he trains for December?
Man, it's tough, but we try to ignore the noise. He do for the most part. He handling it very well, but we locked in, man. You know what I'm saying? Lamont just classy guy, man.
It's hard not to laugh at the irony. The fight hasn't even happened, and Roach is already planning his next move, as if Tank is just a stepping stone on his way to bigger things. But if history tells us anything, it's that fighters who underestimate Tank usually end up on the canvas, not in line for a rematch. For now, the fight is scheduled for March 1st, and fans will have to wait to see if Roach can back up his big talk. But the odds aren't in his favor. If this fight plays out the way most people expect, Roach won't be talking about a rematch. He'll be figuring out how to rebuild after another loss.
And he's fighting. But this guy, Lamont Roach Jr., is not somebody to overlook. This guy can punch, this guy can box, this guy can do it all. And on top of that, these guys have a history together. These guys have been, have fought each other many.
As for Keyshawn, he should first deal with his current problems. Besides, Andy Cruz seems to have had enough of Keyshawn Davis's antics. The 2020 Olympic gold medalist and undefeated pro fighter made a bold statement on social media, calling out Keyshawn and asking him to prove this supposed contract offer. Cruz posted 40 in the pros, 4Z versus my son, knock knock, yo son, send me the copy of the contract. You're saying you sent a contract to my team, send the photo, we all want to see it. That's the kind of talk that stirs the pot, and it's clear Andy wants to expose what he believes is all bluff and no substance.
Say, bro, Andy Cruz might need a translator, but he know how to talk that shit, bro. He know how to talk that shit. Andy Cruz.
Keyshawn has been spinning this narrative that Cruz wouldn't take a fight with him, claiming there's no interest on Andy's end, but if you look at their history, it doesn't add up. Cruz already schooled Keyshawn not once, not twice, but 4 times in the amateurs, including a dominant win in the 2020 Olympic finals. That match wasn't even close. Cruz beat him 41, and it looked effortless. Now Cruz is calling Keyshawn out, basically saying, if you're serious, prove it. Show us the contract you're so proud of.
I think Keyshawn can beat him in the pros, even though Andy had his number, no doubt about it, throughout all the amateurs, including the Olympics. But I think, the pros is a different game. You guys know that. And I think Keyshawn, is showing us more power than Cruz.
The timing of this is no accident. Keyshawn's coming off a flashy 3rd-round knockout of Gustavo Lemos in Norfolk, Virginia, a performance his team hyped to the moon. But let's be real, Lemos was cherry-picked. He wasn't some top-tier contender, he was just another name that could pad Keyshawn's record. Lemos had already been outclassed by Richardson Hitchens, and he looked like he didn't belong in the ring with Keyshawn. The fight was more about making Keyshawn look good than testing him. Andy Cruz, on the other hand, doesn't need smoke and mirrors to prove his worth. His resume speaks for itself, both in the amateurs and in the early stages of his pro career.
Been broken down in that fight. So I don't think it was the same Lemos that fought Richardson Hitchens, but I think that's irrelevant. He demolished him. And that's what you got to do sometimes. You got to go in there. The crowd looked great in Norfolk, Virginia. It's great for boxing. Keyshawn's a great young fighter, and in time, I think he'll be a great fight for Gervonta Davis.
So why is Keyshawn avoiding Cruz? The answer seems obvious. Cruz is bad news for his career. Losing to him again would shatter this image of invincibility Top Rank is carefully crafting for Keyshawn. His team knows this, which is why they've been so careful with his opponents, from Miguel Madua to Gustavo Lemos. The matchmaking has been about keeping Keyshawn safe. It's a page right out of the Edgar Berlanga playbook: protect the fighter, build the hype, and hope nobody notices the cracks. But when you've got someone like Cruz calling you out publicly, the cracks become impossible to ignore.
Call me promoter. You wanna fight with me? Call me promoter. Call me promoter. Eddie Hank, you should win. And the motherfucking Cruz.
Even Kenny Ellis, Devin Davis's coach, chimed in on this. Ellis said on Instagram he's trying to steer everybody away from talking about him fighting Andy Cruz because he knows Andy Cruz will blow his shot at Devin Davis, just like he blew his shot at Olympic gold. That's a brutal assessment, but it hits the mark. Keyshawn has been spending more time calling out Tank than dealing with the unfinished business he has with Cruz. If he really wants to prove he's the best, why not start by settling the score with the guy who's already beaten him 4 times?
I love Keyshawn. I think he's a great fighter. I think he's getting better and better and better. You can't take, when a fighter comes in...
Instead, Keyshawn keeps moving the goalposts. He's already talking about fighting WBO lightweight champion, denies BNA in early 2025. That's fine, but it feels like an excuse to dodge Cruz. Keyshawn even went on Manuka Kopian's YouTube channel to say, if I send Cruz a contract, is he going to sign it? I don't know, that man ain't trying to fight me. I will knock him out. He's just not ready. But if Cruz isn't ready, why not prove it? Why not send the contract and make the fight happen? Cruz's response, essentially calling Keyshawn a liar, makes it clear who the public believes right now.
Listen, you know I got love for you, but oh my God, make sure you never fight Andy Cruz.
Eddie, come on.
And let's not forget, Cruz doesn't just want this fight, he's practically begging for it. The Matchroom promoted Cuban sees Keyshawn as unfinished business, a chance to put an exclamation point on a rivalry that's been one-sided from the start. If Keyshawn was serious about avenging his amateur losses, this would be the perfect opportunity. But Keyshawn knows the risks. A loss to Cruz wouldn't just be a blemish on his record, it would derail his whole career trajectory, and worse, it would blow any chance of getting a big money fight with Tank.
And let's see if Keyshawn can actually beat him. Because I put my house and my soul and my heart on the fact that Andy Cruz will beat Keyshawn 7 days a week and
Speaking of Tank, it's clear Keyshawn sees that fight as his golden ticket. He's been relentless in calling out the WBA lightweight champion, talking about how he's the man to beat him. But as Ellis pointed out, the Cruz situation is a roadblock. How can Keyshawn demand a fight with Tank when there's a guy in his own weight class who's already beaten him multiple times and is still waiting for a real challenge?